Welcome back into Bengals Breakdown. Once again, I am your host, Stone Shields. Thank you so much for joining us. On today's show, we're going to break down some position battles for the Cincinnati Bengals on defense. A little while ago, we broke down the offensive position battles in a previous YouTube video. Today, we're going to focus on defense. A couple of notes to keep in mind here. These are roster battles in training camp, preseason, that we're going to be monitoring over the next couple of months. And we're focusing on the ones that are the most impactful. So not too many battles in terms of guys that are trying to make the roster, but more so looking at areas where guys are trying to start or, meaningful backup roles as well. So we'll be taking a deep dive into that in just a bit. But before we get going, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're in a sub battle with ourselves. So we're trying to beat our previous numbers from July of 2023. And, we're off to a really solid start in the month of July in 2024, but help us beat that number. And really, let's just blow it out of the park. I don't think we're going to have any issues beating it, but let's get those sub numbers up so we can continue to grow as a community and as a channel. So that's youtube.com/BengalsTV. So we start here at the cornerback number 2 position, and I think that this is probably the most intriguing roster battle that the Bengals have on their hands for the 2024 season. And that's between two guys at this point, DJ Turner and Dax Hill. Going into kind of the mini camp stage, I would have said, it's 100% DJ Turner's job to lose. Obviously, Dax Hill was a safety, played safety his first 2 years in the league, but the Bengals have decided to switch him over to cornerback, and he got a lot of reps with the ones, especially during that mandatory minicamp phase. So I think a lot of people thought that Dax Hill has had a really, really good offseason. And I want to make note, there's no reason to write off Dax Hill at this point, right? These first 2 years in the league haven't been the best. Year one, he didn't really play much. Last year, they were a mess all over that secondary, and it would just be unfair to put all that blame on Dax Hill. So I still have high hopes for him, and I'm really interested in monitoring that position. And with a guy like DJ Turner, obviously, both these guys are Michigan guys, played together in college. Dax, obviously being on the Bengals a year longer. DJ Turner coming off his rookie year, where he played a good amount. And you saw some good things in spurts from DJ Turner. Taking a look at some of his numbers here, he was pretty effective, but there's no question about it. That spot needs to be a lot better for the Cincinnati Bengals this year. And like I said, right now it's between those two guys. Could the Bengals perhaps look at bringing in a veteran to play that position at some point? Potentially. We've discussed that throughout previous videos on this show as well. But for now, it's between those two guys, and I'm really excited to see how that unfolds and really excited to monitor that throughout training camp here in a couple weeks. But it's your time to get interactive in the comments section right now. Pick a cornerback 2. Who do you think should be out there against the New England Patriots Week 1? Type H if you think it's Dax Hill. Type T if you think it is DJ Turner. Let us know at the pinned comment of today's video. That ad comes here on YouTube. That's fine. Take advantage of it and go down and vote in the comments section. All right, another positional battle on defense we're keeping an eye on. Strong safety. Now, this one's tough for me because I absolutely love both of these guys, right? I thought Jordan Battle last year had one of the best rookie safety seasons in the NFL. Probably the best. He was probably the best rookie safety in the NFL last year. Obviously, coming from a big school in Alabama, was great there. Bengals picked him in last year's draft, and he showed a lot of good things. But Vonn Bell, if you're a Bengals fan, you have been a Bengals fan for some time, you know how much Vonn Bell means to this organization. It really was depressing seeing him leave for Carolina for a year, and I know I was just through the moon when the news was announced that he was coming back to Cincinnati. He's a guy that's going to provide a lot of communication for the Bengals on the back end. He's a guy that Lou Anarumo trusts completely. So really looking forward to Vonn Bell cleaning up some things in the secondary. I'm certainly going to give the nod to Vonn Bell to start the season, but at some point that torch is going to be passed, that baton is going to be passed to Jordan Battle because he's going to be the strong safety of the future for the Cincinnati Bengals. If Vonn Bell plays the entire season as the starting strong safety, I am fine with that. I love that to an extent because I know Jordan Battle's time is coming at some point. And, just the hard-hitting, power that Vonn Bell comes with. He's getting up there in age, but he still can fly around and make some plays. So I really have a lot of confidence in that room. And whoever they go with, I have trust that they'll be able to get the job done. But I'm hoping that it's Vonn Bell, and I think it should be Vonn Bell, at least for the foreseeable future. But let us know, once again, down in the comments section. Pick a strong safety. Type V for Vonn Bell. Type J for Jordan Battle in the comments section. All right, moving forward here. So those are kind of, the first two were really just starters that we were worried about, right? Now we get into some these rotational pieces, right, at the defensive end position in particular. I think it's very clear the starters here, that's not up for grabs, right? Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard are those guys at that those edge spots. But when you talk about their backups, this is where it gets interesting. Who's going to be that third edge rusher for the Cincinnati Bengals that gets thrust into that rotation? And a couple of guys to keep an eye on. Myles Murphy, number one. Obviously, the Bengals' first-round draft pick last year. And, the Bengals expect him to eventually have a big-time role with the club, right? He didn't put up big numbers last year, as you could tell. But I don't think that was the plan for Myles Murphy. He's more of a project guy. He wasn't expected to come in and produce immediately. So I have a lot of high hopes for him as well. And, he's certainly going to get a lot more playing time this year, and excited to see how he plays. Now, these next two guys that we'll keep an eye on are Joseph Ossai and Cam Sample. Big years for both of these guys, right? They were in the same draft class. They've played 3 seasons with the Bengals. I would be shocked if both of these guys were back on the team in 2025. So one of them's got to show out and play really, really well. And who's that going to be? We'll find out. I would give the nod to Joseph Ossai here, actually, despite some of his injury issues in the past. But I think Cam Sample could be, more of a versatile player, can play inside a little bit as well. And, I got high hopes for a lot of them there. And, like we talked about, I'm not worried about those two guys right there, Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. Those are the guys that are going to be out there first and at the end of the game. But obviously, it's football. Guys are going to get hurt, and we're going to need guys at that position to step up. Before we move on to some more position battles on defense, I want to shout out our friends over at Fanatics and let you guys know that Amarius Mims rookie jerseys are still available. You can get them at chatsports.com/Amarius Mims. That link will be in the comments and the description of today's video. So show your support for the Bengals' first-round pick and get you some Amarius Mims rookie jerseys, courtesy of our friends at Fanatics. Sticking with the defensive line, the defensive tackle spot. I'm going to keep it very blunt and honest with you guys. This group really concerns me for Cincinnati moving forward in 2024. Why? Because DJ Reader, a guy that has really manned that area for a long time, is gone, obviously, losing him in free agency. The Bengals bring in Sheldon Rankins, and obviously B.J. Hill stays in place. Look, it's going to take more than one guy to replace DJ Reader. And I've got hopes for Sheldon Rankins. He's played well. He's had a good career to this point. Obviously, Bengals fans remember his performance with the Texans last year where he was insane against Cincinnati. But like I said, it's going to be multiple guys at that spot. B.J. Hill, could this potentially be his last year as a Cincinnati Bengal? I really like him. I hope it's not. But he's got to play better. So they certainly allocated some resources in this past draft to this particular position group. And the first guy that comes to mind is second-round pick Chris Jenkins out of Michigan. So what's his role going to be with the football team in 2024? I don't think he's going to be a guy that's the coaches are going to want to get out there and playing immediately. Kind of reminds me of Myles Murphy in the sense that he's kind of a project guy here year one, and we'll see where injury concerns happen, and that'll potentially vault him into the lineup at some point. But looking at kind of his size here, he's, despite being 300 pounds, he kind of seems a little small for a DT. But there are some good things I like about him. Obviously, comes from a winning program in Michigan, but he didn't play a ton. And I think in large part that's due to Michigan really was cycling guys through that defensive line, keeping fresh bodies out there. But certainly going to be more of a project for Cincinnati. And this next guy I want to talk about is Zach Carter. Obviously, I talked about earlier how Dax Hill, I don't think it's time to push the panic button on Dax Hill. I'm still staying patient with Dax Hill, but I don't really have the same feelings when it comes to Zach Carter, all right? It might be it for Zach Carter in Cincinnati, to be quite honest with you. And to be honest, I don't know if he's going to make the team. You know, you hear the coaching staff, they talk about all these guys on the defensive line. I haven't heard anybody talk about Zach Carter, so I'm not really sure what's going on with that. When he had his opportunities last year, he really didn't do much. But who knows? Pulling for the guy. Maybe he'll find a way to, make the team, and then he could potentially be a guy that has a role on that defensive line for Cincinnati. And this last guy here is another guy the Bengals picked up in the 2024 draft, McKinley Jackson from Texas A&M. Played in the SEC. He's played some big-time football. There's some things you like about him. He's got really strong hands. He's a physical guy, but he has a tendency to get knocked off his spot a little bit, falls down on the ground a little bit too much. But, the Bengals need one of those two guys to pop, whether it's Jenkins or Jackson, taking them in the second and third round, respectively, in the draft. And, the Bengals have high hopes for that room. Obviously, somebody is going to need to step up and help fill that void of DJ Reader. I'm going to sound like a broken record all year because I really think Bengals fans took DJ Reader for granted because he was just so good at everything, especially in the run game for Cincinnati. So someone else is going to have to step up for the Bengals in 2024. One last bonus battle for you guys. I know this is not defense, obviously, but we're not going to do a special teams video on this. It's the punter position. I've been pretty hard on Brad Robbins. Obviously, I want my punter to go out there and execute, and that's what we've had pretty much my whole life with Kevin Huber. Obviously, towards the end of his career, fell off perhaps a little bit, but Brad Robbins was not good last year, and the Bengals bringing in some competition for him in training camp. Austin McNamara, apparently he's got a big leg. And obviously Darren Simmons likes that. But more importantly, we need guys to be able to, or we need our punter to be able to pin guys inside the 20. I feel like far too many times Brad Robbins would go out there and just blast it through the end zone, or perhaps shank it off his toe, or just do something just completely outlandish that you don't want from an NFL professional punter. So we're going to keep an eye on this punter battle through training camp and provide updates on that. I'm personally pulling for McNamara in this, but if Brad Robbins is able to produce and hold on to his job for another year, then fair play to him as well. Last chance to get involved in the comments section of today's video. We discussed a bunch of defensive battles, obviously rotation battles across the defensive line, and obviously that cornerback 2 and strong safety spots. So let me know your top position battle on defense right now in the comments section.